Join the kindness revolution. Welcome to Acts of Kindness with Michael J. Chase.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into Hay House Radio. You're listening to Acts of Kindness. I'm Michael J. Chase, and another fun show coming up today. And I am just really looking forward to this guest. I know you're going to love what she has to say. But it's a beautiful day here in Maine. But I was just talking to Mitch in the studio. He said, how's it going? And my first initial response, even though it's good, life is good. I mean, my Boston Red Sox are in first place as of this recording. This isn't recorded live, so when you hear it, they could be at the bottom of the barrel by then. But my Red Sox are in first place. They're a game above the Yankees. And Yankee fans, remember the show is called Acts of Kindness, so please don't send me hate email. I honor and respect your Yankees. My Celtics are just a miracle. They made the playoffs, so they're in the playoffs right now. And it's springtime, but when Mitch said, how's it going? I was like, I'm cold. I'm so tired of being cold. We just had one of those springs, where it's been lingering. We've still, like today, it's only in the 40s. We're late April and it's, just like 45 degrees and it's windy and cold. So I'm whining about it a little bit, but you know what? I've been thinking about this. And I'm not one to point fingers or to place blame, or any of that, but I do believe that everything is energy. And energy vibrates and it goes out and it attracts similar energy. So, talking about all this weather stuff, I feel that something needs to be said, and it's just stirring up from something I saw this morning. So to the people that are living in my area and in my town and my neighborhood, please know that this is coming from a place of love. I do love you. But please, 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 I'm begging you, take down your Christmas decorations. It's jinxing us. It's keeping, like Mother Nature is so confused right now. So if you have a dried up Christmas wreath on your front door, and the needles are just like everywhere, and or what I saw today, those like inflatable snowmen and penguins and reindeer. I went out for a walk today, and the front lawn, I mean, it looked like this massacre. There were all these deflated things on their lawn. They were just keeled over and they looked dead, and it was pretty sad. So it's time. It's definitely time to put away the Christmas decorations. And I know some people like to keep the lights up because it's easier just to flip the switch next Christmas, and that's totally okay. I just feel that the other stuff is, I don't know, it's energetically attracting December-like weather here. It seems to be. So, that's my vent. Now everybody probably thinks that this is, my pet peeve, but it's not. It's not like a big thing. I just want warm weather to show up. And it's, speaking of pet peeves, somebody recently asked me, so, what is your biggest thing? What is it that bugs you? Because those who know me know that I do my best every day to walk and talk and write and speak and live and breathe kindness. Is it easy? No, not in today's world. And I fall down a lot, and I can be unkind. I'm human, as I've mentioned this on the show many times before. Just because I'm referred to as the kindness guy, and when you start the kindness center, you're still a person who struggles. So I was asked, what is your biggest pet peeve? And, what makes you upset? And of course, this was more in fun, not speaking of the big things, the global issues and the hunger and the massive suffering that we see, sadly on the news every day. Those things, of course, just break my heart to no end. But the thing that came up when I was asked, what is that really bugs you? It's this one thing that when I see it, it just flips a switch in me, and I still get so frustrated. So here it is. At this particular time in my life, at 45 years old, the biggest pet peeve that I have, and just generally speaking, it's people that don't put away their shopping carts. I know that probably doesn't sound like a big deal, but I've got so many scratches on my car now because, and some of the carts now thankfully have those rubber bumpers on them. But still, when I see perfectly able, healthy people, they wheel their groceries out and they put their groceries away, and that little, that corral thing that you walk over, like, sometimes just like 10 feet, and boom, just, put your cart away. But right up until, a couple of weeks ago, and we still had, a lot of snow on the ground, people will take their carts and they'll shove them up on, you know what I'm saying? You've seen people do this. They shove their carts up on the snowbank, and they fight with it and wrestle it and push. Instead, you could just roll it over and just, put it in the thing. And I saw, this was pretty awesome. I'm sitting there in the car, and I'm waiting for my wife in the grocery store. And Kara had gone in just for 10 minutes, and I'm watching, and, this woman comes out, and she unloads her groceries from the cart, and she does this. She takes her cart and she just kind of shoves it in the middle of the parking space, just leaves it there. And that part of me is like, oh, why do people do that? There's that judgmental piece that surfaces. But then this was so amazing. Within the same, it was like 5 minutes, this man comes out of the store, and he was an older gentleman, had a cane and had one hand on his cart, pushing it over to, he was parked in a handicap spot, which, they're pretty close to the store, but there's still, it's a little bit of a distance. But he wheels the cart over one-handed, limping, with his cane, and he unloads the groceries. And the place where you can put the cart away was fairly close, but instead he went the extra mile. He pushed the cart all the way back up to the store and put it, with the other carts. And I was like, dude, you rock. I mean, I was so close to jumping out of my car and just hugging this guy, saying, yes, why can't everybody do that? So there it is. There's my big pet peeve lately is, I just want people to put their shopping carts away. So if you're looking for an act of kindness, and if you want to make the world a better place, please just put your shopping carts away. So clearly I have issues, deep-seated issues. And it's a good thing that my guest here today is a very qualified, brilliant life coach. So maybe she can help me work on some of these things. I need some help. My goodness. So let's bring on Nira. Let me do a quick introduction, let you know who we are having on the show today. Her name is Nira Lall. Great name. Nira, Nira, and then Lall. Nira is Canada's top integrative life coach. She teaches people how to rise above their fears and create a life they love. She covers topics ranging from relationships, career and money, health, emotional well-being, and personal development. Nira is known for turning life's ups and downs into soul lessons. And if you want to learn more about Nira's work, please visit her website, which is niralall.com. And again, it's NIRALALL.com. And she's also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. She's all over the place, up in Toronto. And it's been really fun. This past week, we've been kind of chatting back and forth through email, just preparing for the show. And whenever we put a show together, of course, we need to have a title for the show and just a couple of talking points. I mean, the show is very spontaneous, but we just kind of throw some things out there. Oh, maybe we can talk about this or that. And, but we'll just keep it loose. But Nira sent an email yesterday. She goes, oh my gosh, I forgot, what did you choose for the title? Because she threw a couple of different options at me, and I told Hay House, but I didn't let Nira know. And so I replied and I said, oh my gosh. And she won't mind if I say this. I mean, she's she shouldn't be. She's just brilliant, but she was nervous. She goes, "Oh my gosh, it's Hay House Radio." She's a little nervous. So I decided to have some fun with her. So I sent back an email. I said, "Oh, Nira, I just saw what Hay House has down for the show title. It's called Parachute Pants in 2015, 4 Keys to Making It as a Breakdancer." And fortunately, she knows that that I'm kind of dorky and I have a weird sense of humor. So she had fun with that. But actually, the show today is titled 4 Keys to Nurturing Your Wholeness, and she's got some brilliant things to talk about. So, Nira, welcome to Hay House Radio.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for that amazing intro. And
oh my gosh. This show gets weird, I tell you.
About that, but I guess that'll be for another time.
Well, you said, maybe when I said you said do some beatboxing, or I'm assuming you're not wearing your parachute pants today. So
I'm not.
You're younger than me anyway, so probably what year did you graduate?
Yeah, they made a comeback though a few years ago. The parachute pants.
All those things come back around, That's it. They all come back around. So no, it's been really really fun getting to know you over the past year. We've had a couple of conversations and through email, but I absolutely love the work that you're doing, and I'm looking forward to hearing more. First of all, I need to know, what's the temperature up in Toronto? You're in Toronto, right?
Yeah, you know what?
What's the temperature today?
We had snow this morning.
Oh, get out.
Yeah, I know. I woke up this morning to go to yoga, and it was snowing, and I was just like, what is going on? We had really nice weather last week, but it's been very cold. It was 0 in the morning. I'm not sure what it is now.
Oh, do people have their Christmas decorations out there, too?
You know what? I was thinking that when you were telling me about it, and there's somebody who has the exact same massacre on their lawn really close by to me. And I was thinking, yeah, clean up the energy. It's time to move on into spring.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying. I'm not angry with these people or anything like that. I just think it's sending mixed messages to the universe and to Mother Nature. So, yeah, but man, I'm sorry. It's snowing there still.
I'm perpetually cold, so I feel your pain. I try not to complain about it, but it just gets to me every once in a while.
Yeah, I can take the heat, the humidity. I can take all the really super warm weather that, it shows up here in the summer, but it doesn't last very long. We might get a couple of weeks of the really hot stuff, but I love it. I absolutely love it. It's even 40 degrees.
Yeah.
Just, you're just like, oh, it just makes you I don't know.
I love it.
Less
I tell
warm
my husband
fuzzy.
that my favorite feeling is when it's a hot day and your car is parked outside, and then after a few hours, you go in your car and it's sweltering hot. I love that. He's like, what's wrong with you?
No, I agree with that.
I say nothing's wrong with me. I'm completely whole and complete.
Which is what we're going to talk about today. Yeah. So that's perfect. What I would love, because you like everybody, all 7 billion people on this planet have a story, and that's how I always love starting the show. By having, my guests share a little bit about who they are, their journey, where they've come from to where they are today, and the work that you're doing. So I'd love for you to tell the listener just a little bit about who you are and what brought you to this wonderful world of coaching.
I would love to. Thank you, Michael. When I think about my story and my journey, and in hindsight, I can see that it started so long ago before I was even aware of it. But I think what I'll start with is a time in my life that was a massive turning point for me, and that happened a few years ago, back in 2008. And during that time, I was living in Central Asia for work, and I was in a little-known country called Tajikistan. Wow. And it's not many people know about it. It's a beautiful country. It's next to Afghanistan. And I was there doing some community development work with an international development organization. And, I was really thrilled about this opportunity because I had struggled a lot up until then to figure out how it was that I was going to express my life's purpose, because I knew that I had something really, good to give back to the world. I wanted to make a positive difference in the world, but I really struggled to figure out how I was going to do that. And so I was hoping that this would be that opportunity that would finally give me a way to express my purpose. And I was also banking on it being something that was going to make me really happy and fulfilled, because up until then, I had spent several years not being so happy and dealing with depression and anxiety. And I'll get a little bit into that in just a second. So I was thrilled I was going to have this great opportunity. And there I was, a couple months into my placement, and I started to realize that I wasn't going to be able to do the wonderful work that I had planned on doing. And it just wasn't going to be possible to reach people in the way that I had wanted to, because the system just wouldn't allow me to do that. And so I started to get down because this wasn't shaping up to be what I wanted it to be. I had so many hopes that I would be far away from everything I knew and I could start all over again. And it really wasn't doing any of that for me. And on top of that, I got really, really sick because I was living away for the first time in a developing country for an extended period of time. And I had so many parasites from the contaminated water. So it was not a good scene. And, and I remember feeling annoyed with myself because I knew I had so much more abundance in my life than the rest of the world. But all I could really think about was the sense of despair that I was feeling. And I remember one day where I knew that something was really wrong, and it was when I found myself in my apartment, and I was in my bedroom on my mattress, and I was curled up in the fetal position, and I was uncontrollably crying and shaking, and I was just overwhelmed by this sense of hopelessness. And Michael, if you had known me then, or anybody that knew me then, they would have been completely shocked by that, because I had spent so much time crafting this image of perfection, and everybody thought that I had it together, and I liked it that way. Mm-hmm. But I inadvertently, when I look back, I think what happened was that I was far away from everything I knew and everyone I knew, and it gave me the opportunity to really face the things that I had been hiding from, the emotional pain, the struggle that I wasn't facing for so long. So just to give you a bit of a background, as a child, I grew up in an environment where there was a lot of conflict, a lot of chaos, very little trust. And I know those are themes that can probably resonate with a lot of people. So I want to say that I'm telling this story not from a place of wounding or victimhood, but from a place of being able to take responsibility for my life and recognizing that today my family is a really big source of strength and support in my life. And we've over the last several years, we've spent time healing on our own and coming together, in a beautiful way now. So they have played a big part in my journey and where I am, and they are a big reason why I can do the deeply rewarding work that I do today. But having said that, as a child and as an adolescent, I was surrounded by these explosive and frightening arguments and fights between my parents, and it was just me and my brother, and I'm the youngest. So I didn't have any power in the situation. I was the observer, and so I would hope and pray that when the explosions happened, and they happened often, that they would stop, and that everybody would be okay, and that I would be okay, and that we'd continue moving forward as a family. And so I would be waiting, and I'd wait up all night, and eventually things would die down, and it would stop, and things would return to normal, whatever my sense of normal was at the time. And then when things were normal, I would then again wait for the next explosive eruption to happen. And so I learned to live my life in this constant state of fear, and I learned that life was unsafe and that happiness wasn't permanent. And so, I had to create some semblance of security for myself within that environment. So I decided that, looking back, I know this, that I said to myself at some point, because we're brilliant, we create coping mechanisms and protective mechanisms quite naturally. And I thought that if I could be the emotional caregiver to everybody in my world, then they would be okay. Because if they were emotionally okay, then there wouldn't be any fights. So I got really, really good at being exactly what everybody else needed me to be. And as I look back, I don't actually think that did anything because,
right.
There were still a lot of crazy things that were going on. But that was how I coped with it at the time. And through that, I became very independent. I became, fiercely private. And I shut away my vulnerability. I put it away because I didn't think that there was any room for that in my environment. I didn't think that even if I was vulnerable, that anybody would know how to deal with that. And so I carried that resentment of not being able to be my complete self in my life for many, many years. So that's how I lived in the world. I walked around on high alert, trying to observe as much as I could so that I could avert the next disaster from happening. So that's how I lived my life, and that's how I created my life for a really long time. So if we fast forward several years, there I am in Central Asia, and I'm lying in my bed, paralyzed with fear. And all I could think, I remember having this crystal clear realization that I had spent all this time creating this life that I really didn't want. I just wanted to get away from everybody because I couldn't handle the life that I had. And I had been running in so many ways, and I couldn't run. There was nowhere else left to run and hide. So, and I ran by distracting myself and all these other things. But the biggest way that I ran was by making everybody else the reason for my problems. And as long as everybody else was the reason for my pain, then I didn't have to take responsibility. It wasn't my fault. It was theirs. So I was off the hook. And so as I was having my meltdown, I was painfully aware of the fact that I was far away from everyone. And I was the common denominator. So there was absolutely something that I had to do if I was ever to get out of feeling the way I was feeling. And I knew that I had two choices. I was aware of two choices at the time. And one was that I could continue living the life that I had created up until now. And that felt like death. I literally thought I would die if I spent another moment living a facade. And then the other choice I had was to just stop and rebuild my life. And rebuilding my life would mean taking responsibility for my choices, for my happiness. It meant being bold and daring enough to find out who I was and then to advocate for that in my life and to live that in my life. So both of those options were terrifying to me. And but to be honest, I was more afraid of dying unhappy than I was of rebuilding my life. So I chose to rebuild my life. And when I made that choice, I remember this tiny, really, really tiny spark of hope within me. And I clung to that hope. And as I clung to that hope, I made a really important decision, which was that I decided I would take the risk of exposing myself and asking for help to someone that I could trust. So I did just that. I called home and I got my mom on the phone and I told her everything that was going on. And I don't actually think she understood what I was saying because I was such a blubbering mess. I was in such a state of dismay when I was talking to her. But I think she gathered enough to know that something was wrong and that I was coming home and I would have to start all over. And then she said these words to me, and they were so simple, but they were so important. She said, "It's okay, Nira. Come home and it's going to be all right." And when I think about that now, it moves me because the moment that I mustered up the courage to ask for help, to be clear about what I wanted, the universe responded to me. And my loved ones responded to me. And I gave myself permission to return to an old world of mine as a different me. And I didn't know who that me was yet, but I knew I wasn't going to go back to the old me. And that was such an incredibly freeing concept. And so several weeks later, I ended up, quitting my job, getting back home to Canada. And I took a year off from living a planned life. And for me, that was big because I lived my life based on plans. Otherwise, it was too unsafe. So I took a year off and I lived off of my credit cards, some support from my loved ones, and I explored everything that was inspiring to me or that called to me in any way. And I learned about yoga and Ayurveda and coaching and NLP and hypnosis and a bunch of other things. And I did a lot of forgiveness work. And that was kind of where the shift really started to happen. And I started to learn some really important things. I learned that I was not my wounds. I was so much more than my wounds, and that I had something really great to offer the world, and that I actually really liked myself. I didn't know that I liked myself, but I found
what a concept, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I like me.
I found these qualities of love, compassion, sensitivity that I loved, and I knew that if I could just harness those, and I would be able to share that with people. And so then I knew that was my personal journey of rising above my own fear, of my own emotional pain, and actually creating a life that I love would help me help other people. And because I truly believe that's the key to transforming our world is one person at a time. And so that was way back in 2008. And I have continued to learn and to grow and to deepen my relationship with myself. I think the moment I made that decision to commit to myself was when all the hard work began. And I went through a lot of challenges because now I couldn't be me in isolation. I had to really live the values that I was saying were important to me in every area of my life. And I'm glad I did it because, every day here I am. I do my best every day to live in a purposeful way that honors who I am and honors my wholeness.
The thing that I love, Nira, is your willingness to be vulnerable, where so many people are not, and sometimes it's that one decision right there, just to be more exposed, more raw, and to make that shift from so-called perfection, because authenticity trumps perfection every time. When you're willing to be authentic and say, this is who I am, even in this moment when I'm broken, I'm hurting, I'm kind of a mess, and we've all been there. But I personally believe that's what makes you such an amazing teacher and an amazing coach, because it's sort of like when if you go to a therapist and you've got these major things that you've been through, and I think most people have had something. I honestly feel that everybody in the world, like every single person on this planet, should have a therapist or a coach. Wouldn't that be cool if, like, the day you're born, you're assigned? It's like, wait, well, listen, life gets kind of hard. So at this age, you're going to have, this therapist, and then we'll move you to this coach if you want. But yeah, I mean, we weren't given an instruction manual when we arrived here. But you, being so honest about this and showing your true self, and then having these experiences, now people can totally relate to you. Just, like I was going to say, unlike, I remember I had maybe one session that I remember, when I was younger, just going through a lot of things with my past and my family and my father, and speaking to this therapist. And the thing is, it was all textbook. It was like, he was telling me how I should feel, rather than having a heart-to-heart conversation with me, because he had been there. He hadn't lost a father to suicide. He hadn't been through the things that I had gone through. But it just, it shows, the studies show that, well, just to let you know that you are much more likely to take your own life because you've been through this, and planting those really dangerous seeds. So my therapy experience with that individual didn't last long. That being said, I know some therapists, who are absolutely brilliant in what they do, and they transform lives every day. But I also have a tremendous respect for coaching and what you do. And you must find that your clients really relate to you, because sharing this part of yourself, now there's this authenticity, there's this deeper understanding that you're a real person too, and that you've struggled, you've had many challenges. Do you find that the clients tend to relate to you better when you share your own humanness?
Yeah, definitely. I think that my clients do, and from my own personal experience with practitioners that I've worked with, oftentimes it's not about having the same story as a person, but it's about knowing that they have gone through their own challenges and that they're not perfect, and neither are you, and that's beautiful. And oftentimes it's that we need to be witnessed and supported in our process, and we don't need all the facts and all those other things, but sometimes we just need to be lovingly witnessed, and that creates a space for the highest potential to happen within that session or in that time that you have together. And I really believe that is something of the greatest importance when you're working with anybody, whether it's a coach or a therapist.
Yes, absolutely. So I'd love to talk just a little bit about something that you and I discussed earlier about transforming emotional pain with kindness, on how you can actually use kindness as a way to alleviate the emotional pain that, from your, whether it's something currently happening or from your past. Could you talk a little bit about that process and how that may help people? Absolutely.
This is actually one of my favorite tools to start with people, because I find that, usually when someone comes in for coaching, they want to move forward with their lives, and they're having some struggles moving forward with their lives. And it's not usually because they don't know what they want. It's because something is holding them back, and it's usually at the emotional level. And so, when we go on this journey of living our life's purpose and, being on our path, it sounds so amazing and blissful and just great, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Michael. It is great sometimes, and then you get whacked upside the head, and something in your life happens, and it feels not good.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then you're like, oh, what happened to all those good feelings I was feeling for so long? And we all go through that, and the point about that is that we are human, and in our authenticity, we have both light and dark elements, and to be human is to have the full range of emotions, whether they are great and uplifting or whether it's anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, anxiety, our inner critic or perfectionist. Like, that's part of who we are too. So what we usually do is when that darkness comes up, we shout no at it, or we shout bad, and we try to shut it down, right? And what happens in that moment is that when we try to shut that part of us down, we sidestep what the actual issue is, because not only are we're upset that we're upset. So we're not even focused on why we're upset. We're just upset that we're upset a lot of the time.
Right.
And so what we're doing in that is that it's really a deep personal betrayal, right, to who we are, because our wholeness is all of that. And so if we want to talk about being authentic, then it's really important that we are the ones that don't betray and reject ourselves. It just adds to the rejection and the betrayal and the hurt that we've experienced over our lives. But it's coming from within, and that's the worst kind, right? Mm. So, and I'm not saying by any means that we need to live in our pain for prolonged periods of time, because that's not healthy either, but it is possible to create a compassionate relationship with it and engage with it in a loving way. And that's a new concept for people. So, if I was feeling sad, I wouldn't say, oh, why are you feeling sad? Or, oh, it's so terrible, or poor me. That's not going to do anything for me or resolve anything for me. It's going to keep me stuck. So what I do, and I think this is the most important step, is that you feel the emotion and acknowledge it and offer it love, right? I would actually talk to if it was sadness, I would say, hi, sadness, I feel you, I know you're here, and I offer you love. And that's important, because as you offer something that's hurting love, it has no choice but to feel comforted. And then I tell it, I'm not trying to annihilate you, right? And that's important, because when any part of us feels like we're trying to kill it, we're trying to shut it down, we're trying to annihilate it, it will only dig its heels in. Our ego personality goes on high alert at that point and says, whoa, I'm here trying to protect you through whatever mechanism I've learned through my experience in life, and you're trying to shut me down. Are you crazy? I'm trying to protect you here. So when you let that part of you that's hurting know that you're not trying to annihilate it, it opens up a space for working with it to get some information and resources to help transform it. And I can share, more about an exercise around that if you like.
Yeah, I absolutely love what you're saying here, and timing is perfect for me because this is exactly I'm writing a new book right now, and one of the chapters I'm working on is about accepting the darkness in our life, and that's such a frightening concept to so many people. But I couldn't agree with you more that those parts of ourselves that bubble up, and whether it's me, judging the person that won't put their shopping cart away or, the bigger things in life. When we see ourselves start to judge, or if we feel sad, or if it's, mild anger or depression or whatever the dark energy may be, it's so important to not push that away, or just shove it down deeper. As they say, suppression equals depression.
Yep. And
the further you push that down, it has to surface eventually. And usually it just builds on something else. And when it does come to the top, it's so much bigger and darker and uglier than if you had just, like what you just said, if you can just take that sadness and say, hey, listen, I appreciate what you're trying to offer me because there's a teaching, there's a lesson in everything and from everyone that comes our way. And if you can honor it and love it and just, embrace all parts of yourselves. I just personally believe that that's like the ultimate, process for healing your life is to accept those areas that so often we despise or we hide them. So many people live, in hiding. It's like, well, everybody sees, just like you mentioned earlier, everybody sees you a certain way. And I have to call myself out. I mean, when I got tagged, the kindness guy several years ago, it's like, oh man, I have got to, walk this perfect, whole way of kindness and compassion and just love. And I can never, say a bad thing or tell a dirty joke or, or any of those things. You have to be this perfect person. And I'm not perfect. And, we all have our stuff. But it's important to honor it. So I'm so glad you talked about that. I was feeling like you were going to go in that direction.
Yeah.
Man, I can't believe we've got like 15 minutes to go here.
What?
Yeah. Can you believe that? That's how fast these shows go. So if this exercise, because I really feel that this is something that could be very, very helpful to people that are struggling with those darker energies in their lives. If you think we have time to do a quick exercise, then by all means, definitely, feel free to share.
Well, you know what I'll do is I'll explain it real quick, and then the listeners can do it on their own time. It's one of those where you take it with you and do it when that darkness kind of bubbles up for you.
And I also want to. That sounds perfect. I want to make sure that we mention this because we didn't say it at the beginning of the show. And in case I have a brain freeze and forget, you're actually giving away some free gifts at the end of the show. Do you want to explain what those are?
Sure. Yeah, I would love to. So, on my website at niralall.com, I'm giving away my ebook for free, which is called 20 Tools for Less Stress, an Everyday Guide for More Inner Peace. And I share some really great tools in there that you can start to use immediately to just kind of, turn down the level, approach stress in a different way in your life, and some really great handy exercises. And so that's available on the website. And for a limited time, I'm also giving away my audio program. It's a series of guided awareness tracks, and it's called Letting Go of Past Hurts, and it's all about working with some emotions or experiences in the past that you might feel are keeping you stuck right now. And that's available for free on the website. You just got to go put your email in, and it'll be sent to you right away. So we have that. And the other thing is that I also do 60-minute coaching calls online, and they're group sessions. and they're for free, and I've got 2 more dates coming up soon on May 16th and May 22nd. So you can find out all about that on my site and how to go about getting yourself enrolled in one of those.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's extremely generous of you. And again, it's Nira Lall, NIRALALL.com. And you can check out those free gifts right there. So, yeah, Nira, why don't you walk us through this exercise very briefly,
Yeah.
and then the listeners, perhaps they can, it's because if you're driving right now or anything like that, you probably don't want to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a good idea. Don't do that.
Okay,
So
all right.
Essentially, it's just when you have a second, grab a piece of paper and a pen and do some inspired writing with your emotion or dark aspect, whether it's perfectionism or whatever it might be that you're dealing with. And I'm going to give 3 questions, and these are just guidelines. So you don't have to use these questions, but use them as a guideline of how you would talk to your pain. And then you just wait for your hand to do the writing, not intellectualizing it, but just letting whatever come up and then write it down. So if we take the same example of the sadness, I would first, offer the sadness love, let it know that I'm not trying to destroy it. And then I'd ask, sadness, what's your purpose? And I'd write whatever comes to me to, what is your purpose? And then after I've asked that, I'd ask, well, when were you created, sadness? And then I'd write down whatever comes to me to the answer of when it was created. And then I'd ask it, well, what do you need to heal right now from me, sadness? And then I'd write down the reply to what it needs to heal. And so this is an intuitive process. So if you're guided to ask other questions like, what is my pain afraid of, or what is my pain's purpose in my life? Why was it created? What is it trying to get to my attention? Like, those are all kinds of questions you can ask, and just do some writing. You might be surprised by the answers in an exercise like this because it allows you to really get some information you may never have thought of and allow space for integration and healing, because you get the learning and then the awareness, and then you get to move on. So
I
it's
love
a really,
that.
really good one.
Yeah, questions are so powerful, and so it would be, so if it was sadness, you'd say it was sadness, what's your purpose? The second one was, when were you created? And then the third question, what do you need to heal? Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's I can see how that would be very effective, and I guess the key here would probably be to get out of your head and just try to stay more in your heart as you answer these questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Now, another thing that I know you love to talk about is managing your energy, and specifically, thinking about drains, because we all have so many things that can drain us now, especially in this, crazy digital world, whether it's our social media or our phones or there's just something always demanding our attention. And it can be people too, of course, being a parent can be a very, very challenging job, and it's the most rewarding one in the world, but it can also be very draining. So what would you have to say about managing your energy and dealing with some of these things that can drain our energy?
Well, I think that this is a great place to start if you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't know where to start. It's to get a picture of, okay, well, what's going on right now? And it's really simple. It's just about reducing the mental and the physical noise in your life, because the more that there are things that are, where your energy is really split and distracted, it's hard to focus and create things you want to create in your life. So, it's simple. Just start with a list and write down all the things that are draining your energy. So that, like you said, includes people, situations, tasks, things that have been left undone. Anything that's left undone is a massive energy drain, whether that's calling someone back, paying your taxes, whatever it might be. And another thing that people don't think of that are energy drains are to-do lists. And I'm a proponent of to-do lists. I think they can be helpful. But sometimes, if you've got something on your to-do list, like I had French on my to-do list to learn French for like 7 years, and I never did. I had to fire it off my to-do list because it was draining me. I felt unaccomplished because I kept not doing this thing, right? So looking at the things that are draining you in your life, and then actually making time to complete those activities, or to do something about them to reduce the drain, right? I like to use the analogy of us being like a car tire. If you're driving a car and it gets all these snags and little bumps in it, eventually it's going to get some slow leaks. And if we don't do anything about that, the car is going to have a flat tire and it won't be able to go anywhere. And that's kind of like us. The more things that we allow to suck our energy, the less we're going to be able to function the way that we want to. So
that's great.
Yeah, while we're doing that, remembering also to anchor yourself in the things that do work, the things that do fill you up, because we all have those, whether they're big or small, so that we don't get too focused on all the things that are wrong.
Yeah, that self-care is just, it's so vital to managing our energy. I know that myself and a lot of people probably feel the same way, that if you don't take care of yourself first thing, and I honor those that they love to exercise at the end of the day or meditate, and for some people, of course, their schedule is so crazy. When you're waking up and you're trying to get the kids going and you've got to get to work and all that, it's not always easy. But I find that if I do something, first thing, and, Louise Hay taught me this, she said, how you begin your day is how you're ultimately going to, live your life. And so if you're planting those seeds early, first thing, whether it's even a 5-minute meditation, get up a few minutes earlier before the rest of the family, and just be still with yourself and put your hand on your heart and just, love and honor and respect your incredible self. And then when you go out into your day, your heart will just be that much more open to others and to the stresses and the challenges that we all face.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's about releasing the things that don't support the vision that we have for our life, so that we can create the space for the things that do support our vision for our life, right?
Absolutely. And I love what you said there, that, you French for 7 years on the list, but there comes a point where sometimes maybe we just have to look at our goals and dreams and whatever the to-do list is and say, you know what? Maybe it's okay for right now. It doesn't mean I can't add it another time. Next year, maybe you can put, French down on the list again, or whatever it may be. But for now, it's draining me, and I'm recognizing that it's taking my energy. So I'm just going to remove it, and then maybe you'll replace it with something easier, like instead of learning French, maybe you go out and you have French fries. That sounds more manageable to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we pile so much on ourselves, and in our Western world, it's just go and do, and it's not about be. It's about if we can focus more on our being, and I've talked a lot about having a to-be list before you have a to-do list, and that beingness can really create an amazing shift in your energy, allowing you to more peacefully, deal with the things that you have to do.
There's so much power in that, and I think that really goes along with being gentle with ourselves, which is, often we think about let it go, just let go of things that don't support you, but letting it be is a great in-between step. It's a place of surrender, where we're the ones that are in the decision-making place to say, I choose to let this be and surrender to the things that I can't change at the moment, or the things that I don't have the resources to deal with. And that's a wonderful way of exercising self-care, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, in the next, we actually have we got almost 5.5 minutes left here. How about relationships? That's something that I know you specialize in as well. You have any advice for people that, let's see, we were talking about 4 keys to nurturing your wholeness. Did we get, what have we gotten in? We got
we got
3?
And transforming your pain. So the next one was, we have relationships and engaging your compassionate self.
What do you think? Can we squeeze those 2 in?
We can do it really quick. We can do it really quick.
Let's go!
We already talked about, we were talking about self-care, and that's all about what the compassionate self is. It's self-love, self-compassion, and doing the things that, it's not about the activities that we consider self-love, like a massage or shopping spree, which can be great, but it's about honoring the sacredness of our body, our mind, and our soul on a moment-to-moment basis, right? And that's all about doing the things that make you come alive, doing more of those so you can engage with the energy of who you really are. And for me, that's singing in the car and just having a great time in the car. My heart is not
singing. You said singing in the car?
Yeah, I love singing.
Oh, I love it. I do that too. That's awesome.
Right? Isn't your heart so open when you're doing that? And
yeah, and it freaks people out that are in traffic, and it's great.
Yeah, I love it. So that and doing it's great for people who are empaths and sensitive to energy, because with a good baseline of what your energy is like, then you can understand when you're having a dip, and you can just check in with yourself to do something about that to uplift your energy.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So what else do you do for you? I mean, so singing in the car. Do you have any other suggestions? Things
I think that we need to check in with our head and our heart and our gut. So this is an exercise I learned somewhere, I don't know where, but it's when we're making decisions, right? It's all about self-love. So when we're deciding what to eat, what route to take home, if we're having a difficult decision, is to ask our inner knowing about that, to check with our gut, which is our own inner knowing, and to check with our heart, which is usually emotional, and then to check with your head, which is usually analytical. And if you can check with the three spots often enough, you'll get in practice of knowing how to listen to your body, which is your gut response. So that's how you really get to making choices and decisions in your life that support your inner knowing.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so what do you think? We got time for one more?
Okay, quickly. So what
we got 3 minutes. We can do it.
Yes, we can do it. Okay, building nourishing relationships is all about setting the intention to get people in your life that you can lean on, and that includes animals, which I know you know a lot about, Michael.
Yes, woof.
Yeah, and intention is so incredibly powerful, and also checking in how you feel after you've spent time with people. If you feel uplifted or if you're consistently drained, then that's an invitation to create some change in your life with those relationships. And while you do that, remembering that not all relationships are meant to be your everything, right? So different relationships serve different purposes. Some relationships really lift you up and make you have a good time. Some relationships are about deep connections, and others are about doing adventurous things together. So it's remembering not to make one person our everything, and that we can get different things from different people in our lives. And that takes down the pressure on ourselves and other people. And remembering that if you are inviting situations in your life where, say you're a really good giver and you have people who are constantly taking from you, they're so good at receiving, and you're wondering, well, when is it going to be my turn to receive something? Well, maybe that's an opportunity for you to check in and ask yourself, am I really asking for what I need with unwavering commitment to myself that I deserve that? And really looking at what the lesson in the situation is with your particular relationships, because, life is a classroom, and we keep getting the same kind of lesson until we learn it and can move on to the next one.
Amen. Awesome,
there you go.
awesome. We did it! We did it with like a minute 40 to go here. Oh, this has been didn't I tell you this was going to go fast? I mean,
yes, and I didn't think it was going to go that fast, but yeah, it's great.
So I want to throw it out there again before we go, that on Nira's website, she's giving away some free gifts. She's got her ebook, 20 Tools for Less Stress, an everyday guide for more inner peace, and the audio program, Letting Go of Past Hurts, and also a coaching program. And you can go to NiraLall.com. And again, it's NiraLall.com. Nira, thank you so much for coming on. This was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you for having me. It's been such a blast.
Absolutely. So maybe we can do this again, and I hope that like here in Maine, that you start to see some warmer weather, and tell people, put their Christmas decorations away. Don't be afraid. You can do it with love, right? All right. Well, thank you so much, Nira, and thank you all for listening. You've been listening to Hay House Radio. This is Acts of Kindness. Be kind to one another, love one another, and hope to have you back here for the next show. Have a great day, everybody.
information or to see how you can get involved.